Hi, how are you doing? My name is Rohit and I'll be breaking down the 19th match of this year's IPL, which saw the Rajasthan Royals taking on the Royal Challengers Bengaluru in the Sawai Mansingh Stadium in Jaipur. And the home side did it again. They won. They're 4-0 to open this year's IPL, and it was the Rajasthan Royals winning this contest by 6 wickets. And it was a tale of two big partnerships, one for each team. Rajasthan's was better. That's the reason they won. And it's ultimately the way both of these partnerships approached the game, approached how they wanted to bat, that's what made the difference. Starting with RCB's, which saw their opening partnership of Faf du Plessis and Virat Kohli last for 14 overs and scoring 125 runs. And in a vacuum, that is a very solid opening partnership. That's 84 balls, 148 strike rate. But then you kind of dig a little deeper into it, and that's when you start to notice something a little strange, and something strange that kind of permeates throughout the rest of the innings, especially with Virat Kohli. So with the Kohli-Faf partnership in general, you have Faf, who was the one dismissed, 44 from 33, a strike rate of 133. And in that partnership, Virat Kohli was 72 from 51 at a strike rate of 141. Rajasthan's bowlers were not as disciplined, giving up 9 extras to help bring that total partnership up to 125. So that's not awful, but the problem is they're not, after the power play that they started relatively fast, despite the fact that they had 12 dot balls just in the power play. So that's 2 overs of just pure dot balls just gone. But despite that, they had some solid hits. But as the innings progresses, after Faf gets dismissed, Kohli, who was already farming the strike for the majority of the match, took that farming to a whole nother level. Yes, he finished with becoming the first centurion of this year's IPL, scoring 113 from 72 at a strike rate of 157 in an overall innings for RCB that had a strike rate of 152. So mathematically, that checks out. That makes sense. But the problem is the fact that it checks out. Kohli faced 72 balls. In a T20 match, you have 120 to work with, which means Kohli faced 60% of the available deliveries to bat with. And he only scored 61% of the total runs. Faf faced 27.5% of the total deliveries, but only scored 24. And in turn, they combined for 87.5% of the deliveries faced, but only scored 85% of the runs. The other batters only had 15 balls to even do anything. And this is a Jaipur pitch, which is very difficult to bat on, very difficult to get set. And so people are saying Kohli did not have any support, but the problem is Kohli did not allow anybody to support him. Kohli, without boundaries in this innings, only scored 41 from 56, which is a strike rate of 73. So that's a lot of dot balls. Keep in mind, he had 16 boundaries in this innings. But you go back to that 41 from 56 without the boundaries. That is a lot of dot balls. And this partnership in general, between Kohli and Faf, had 20, which overall is solid, and that's sort of something you kind of expect. But after Faf gets dismissed, the dot balls keep ramping up, which limits strike rotation, which also limits what the other batters can do. You can't say the other batters did not support Kohli when Kohli did not give them the opportunity to support him. He kept farming the strike and trying to score, and yes, he did score, but you can't really say that the other batters did not support him because they were not given the opportunity to. You can't just have someone come in and just blindly swing when you know this pitch is not some place you can blindly swing with against a quality bowling attack, which bogged down in the middle overs because the Rajasthan spinners knew what they were doing. Yuzinder Chahal and Ravichandran Ashwin were economical as usual. And so in that sort of situation, you can't really expect too much from people who just came fresh to the crease when you have one guy farming the strike. You have to, as a batter, sometimes get your eye in. And if you can't get your eye in, you're not really going to be able to score. And that's what ended up happening. Kohli's innings, while in a vacuum, impressive, proportionally, it checks out. In reality, it was not good for RCB. You're not going to know what you have or don't have if you do not have the opportunity to actually see what you have or don't have. And again, I'm just going to have to use a Kannada movie as a reference for this one simply because it's in the name. RCB focuses too much on their KGF. Kohli, Glenn, Faf. They focus too much on that top three. They only expect that top three to do anything. And then after they get dismissed, it's basically whatever. The openers faced 105 balls. Anyone who wasn't an opener only faced 15. And then you add on Glenn Maxwell, who only faced 3. But if you go back to that Kohli, Glenn, Faf thing, that means the top 3 for RCB faced 108 balls, meaning the rest of the RCB team only had 12 balls, 2 overs to even do anything. So in that sort of situation, you're mainly focusing on one guy to constantly do everything. And then when he's taking up the strike, when he's taking up a lot of dot balls, and that dot ball percentage gets higher and higher, that's not going to really be conducive to getting a bigger total. Had Kohli rotated the strike more, maybe the other RCB batters have a feel for what the pitch is doing, and maybe they can accelerate better than Kohli did. Yes, Kohli did accelerate, but who knows? Maybe the other players could have done better. They were not given the opportunity to do so. So going back to strictly the numbers for the Kohli-Faf opening partnership, in that partnership, you have the runs without boundaries. So you take away all the boundaries scored. That's 58 from 72 at a strike rate of 80. Which again, relatively normal, but that dot ball percentage is a little high. That's not to say, oh, try to score on every ball, because you objectively can't. But try to rotate the strike a little better. Don't always go for the big shot. Be more open to running the 1s and 2s. And RCB only ran 9 2s in their entire innings. And Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis are some of the best when it comes to running between the wickets. And it's shocking that this RCB team as a whole only ran 9 2s. There were opportunities to be had. There were gaps. So you could have easily ran for 2 runs. But they just didn't do that enough, which was very strange and very confusing. So when you take on the entire innings as a whole, Kohli and Faf without boundaries scored a combined 65 from 85 at a strike rate of 76, which you're really bogging your team down there with that lack of strike rotation. But strike rotation is precisely what the Rajasthan Royals partnership did well, which was that second wicket partnership between Sanju Samson and Josh Butler after Yashasvi Jaiswal gets out for a 2-ball duck. They scored 148 runs in 14.2 overs, so they faced 86 balls, had a strike rate of 172 in that partnership. And here's the thing. Remember how I said RCB only ran 9 2s in their entire innings? This Samson-Butler partnership had 10 2s just in the partnership. They were not afraid to run in between the wickets. Yes, they had a lot more boundaries. In total, this partnership had 21 boundaries compared to the 12 that the RCB partnership had. So yes, the Rajasthan Royals batters did do a better job of hitting, but at the same time, they did a better job of hitting because they were willing to run between the wickets. In this partnership, when you look at the runs without the boundaries, proportionally, it's the same. They had 52 from 65 at a strike rate of 80, but here's the thing. They faced 7 less balls in that partnership just without boundaries. So that's an over plus 1 ball in terms of opportunities that Rajasthan just didn't waste, and that the Royal Challengers Bengaluru did waste. And so you look at Samson and Butler overall without boundaries, you have a total of 65 from 87, which is a strike rate of 84, which is still miles better than the 76, which was the Kohli-Faf total without boundaries. So you have this better ability to run between the wickets, a better understanding of match awareness, and the better ability to rotate strike. In cricket, you often see strike rate abbreviated as SR. The problem is, when discussing these innings, everybody focuses on the SR as in strike rate, but the better SR to focus on would be strike rotation. Rajasthan did a much better job of rotating the strike, which ultimately led them to winning. Josh Butler, who also scored a century, 100 from 58 at a strike rate of 172, he scored 40 runs from 45 balls at a strike rate of 89, and he only hit 13 boundaries compared to Virat Kohli's 41 from 56. So that's a huge, huge difference. Butler only scored one less run in terms of without boundaries, but he did so in 11 less balls. That's a lot of not wasted time. That's showing a much better ability to rotate the strike and being aware of the match situation. Much better match situation awareness that Virat Kohli showed, which ultimately is what did RCB in. An over-reliance on Virat Kohli and a lack of strike rotation. And so now you're looking at this and thinking, well, how do you fix this? Well, if you're RCB, you have to be more open to rotating the strike. You have to be more open to letting other batters have an opportunity. Because you can't just live and die by one player and have that one player just hog the strike and farm the strike and see if he can do anything with it. Because if he struggles, he's going to drag the entire team down with him. You have to do a much better job, like what Rajasthan did today. Both Samson and Butler had strike rates of over 160. Samson's strike rate, 69 from 42, 164 strike rate. And in that partnership, Josh Butler was 77 from 44. And so he scored another 23 from the next 14 balls. So yes, he slowed down a little bit, but at the same time, he did not use too many dot balls. He kept rotating the strike, letting others do the same and see if they can also accelerate and finish things off, because the damage was already done. The Samson-Butler partnership basically took Rajasthan home, and now it's just a matter of just keeping things calm and finishing things off. It doesn't matter how you get that done. At this stage of the tournament, 2 points is 2 points. And so that's what Rajasthan did better. Better strike rate, better understanding of how to run between the wickets, and not necessarily always having to look for the big shots. The problem is a lot of teams in T20 think the only way to score is with big shots. But think about this for a second. Let's say you have an over where you score 2 sixes, but you have 4 dot balls. That's 12 runs. But let's say you have another over where you have 6 balls of scoring 2 runs on each ball. That's the same 12. There are multiple ways to score, and you have to be aware of that and have your players have an opportunity to do so. The ability of Samson and Butler to rotate the strike was what allowed them to get into a good scoring flow, and that's why they scored freely. With Kohli's strike farming, if someone was in a flow, that flow would get interrupted because Kohli would not be able to rotate the strike because he would take up a lot of dot balls. And so that's what RCB has to look at is strike rotation. Strike rate, okay, you can pick that up at any time. Some players can do it better than others, but that's something you can focus on later. Strike rotation is the key to a proper T20 innings. And if RCB does not fix that, this entire campaign is done. It's another year of just what could have been, and it's going to be another year of them saying, "Ye sala cup namde." So you just have to learn how to just rotate the strike. And that's all there is to it. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to drive this point home. It's the crux of this game, and this was a chasing masterclass by Rajasthan, and this is a masterclass in what not to do by RCB. And so with that ends my breakdown of this game. Once again, please like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, thank you. I'll be back for the next one. Have a good one.